everyone, and thank you very much for joining me. I, of course, am Rotype, and I'm back here in our Factorio tutorial series, where today we're going to get some train automation actually completed. We're going to get our first automatic train set up and running. So as you can see, we've set up this little iron mining outpost. I'm going to call this usually, I guess, what people call them. Not really an outpost for us because we don't have any guns and walls and stuff because we haven't worried about the biters, but it's a mining outpost, I guess you could say. Now, the next thing is to get our train down here. Now, we could, if we could click on it, hit the automatic mode. Another useful way to handle trains, especially when you're in a situation like this where the train is off, who knows where, is on the top right. There's a button that says trains, or it has a picture of a train. When you hover over it, it says trains. You push it, and it'll open up a window with all of the trains that you have. We only have the one, but it'll open up all of your trains. You click that, and that will get you to your normal train menu that you're used to seeing from just clicking on the train itself. So now I'm in my train GUI here, and I can see that it's already on automatic mode, but it only has mouse station in its schedule. So I'll go ahead and add, sure, Captain Midnight, whatever the next station is, and I'll tell it to go there until inventory is full. And here it comes. You can see it on this little preview window that the train is on its way. One thing I didn't mention, I guess, is this preview window. You can zoom in and out. It's just this map, same as a map view. You can also push this, I don't know what it's called, kind of circular arrow button, and that'll switch to a real kind of in-game camera. I almost never use it, but it's there. That's what that button is for. And so here we go. Now we've got our train. So from here, we pretty much just want to load it up. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out a bunch of inserters. It might be a little overkill, but in general, you want to, or at least in my mind, you want to load the train up as fast as possible and unload it as fast as possible, because that will get you your greatest throughput. I mean, it's the same as a belt, right? The faster it goes, the more smelters you can run because you'll have more per second. Now you could just run these right up to the inserter like that, and you can imagine you could even you could do it like this. So any bleed through, we don't have these powered, but any bleed through would be picked up by the other ones. But you can imagine this might not be the fastest way of working it because one inserter only works so fast, and so often what people do is some sort of splitting mechanism where you bring all of your ores together. Of course, I was off by one. So there's two combined. And then we'll bring these other lanes in and just merge them all together in one area. And if I were pushing the right buttons, this would work. Go. Now you can also imagine this is likely to overload a belt because we have these belts are going to be way full for one. So this is where we talked, I don't know, many episodes ago about ideal balancers, splitters and balancers and stuff like that. That's where some of this stuff really starts to show its necessity, where I have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 different belts here, and I want to load them all up and then unload them into, in my head, you have 3 wagons. I kind of want 3 belts, 1 for each wagon, in an even way. That way, if any of these miners from any of these columns has ore that needs to get somewhere, it has a chance to go onto any of the wagons, whichever one has space for it. I don't remember any of the ideal layouts off the top of my head, so for now I'm just going to use this super ugly and not at all properly balanced set of 3. Just take 1 to each of the wagons. Now the other thing I'll mention is that it's useful to put chests here, and that may seem weird. Once I have some more chests, I will explain. So here we go. We have chests, and we'll run another set of inserters into the chest and out of the chest. Now, the reason you do this is because I don't know if we've talked about this a lot or just mentioned it briefly, but inserters get what's called a stack size bonus. So when you first build or you first research inserters, they can handle one item per rotation. Now, we have a couple researches that will up that to say 2 or 4. And the more you research, you can get quite a large number of items per second, or not per second, per grab, per rotation of an inserter. Now, a useful way to see that is, again, on this upper right area of icons that we haven't really talked about much. There's one that says bonuses. It's the circle with the plus in it. And that'll see here, we have almost no bonuses right now, just quick bar count 2, which is the taskbar I was talking about. We can open up the research screen and show you here stack inserter. The stack inserter research option has under the effects, it has stack inserter, stack filter inserter, and stack inserter pickup bonus +1. So this is what I'm talking about, where that just means the inserters can pick up one other thing per rotation, per, I don't know, tick. So they can only do that, though, when they're picking up from a container of some kind. So when you're picking up off a belt, you always get 1. When you're picking up off of a assembly machine, a chemical plant, a box, a wagon, you get your whatever your bonus is. So that's why I tend to put these boxes, and you'll see this a lot if you watch other people play. You tend to put these boxes here because if the train is gone, pull the train out of the way, this will let the inserters fill up these boxes with iron ore while the train's not here. And then when the train gets here, you can load the train faster than one item per inserter. You can load it with whatever your stack size is per inserter. And that's because it's going from a box to basically another box, like a box to a wagon. That's why you see all these boxes instead of just directly onto the wagon. Now I'm going to hop in the train and ride it back to Mouse Station and build pretty much a similar thing on the output. Just a bunch of boxes and fast inserters going from the wagons into boxes and then out of the boxes onto a belt. And that basically is how you set up your train, loading and unloading at the train. It's kind of just the way it works. There's not really much. I mean, you can get as complicated as you want, but there's not really too much more to it. And I'm out of inserters, unfortunately. Now, when we get into circuit networks and things like that, I could talk about a particular method of loading and unloading with circuits, but we haven't really talked about circuit networks yet, so I won't get too in depth about that. And of course, I'm way over here. My car is back over there. So I'm just going to send the train back. This is a good time, I think, also to mention these conditions. You might think full cargo inventory is a good thing to set for when to leave your outpost. But if you have an outpost that loads the train particularly slowly, like it looks like here, it might take a little while to get it all fully loaded. You might want a different leave condition so your train is not just like sitting here and your base is out of fuel. So just some things to think about. And I've damaged my car.
And I'm mostly just speeding up the production here.
I forgot what I came up here for. Oh yeah, inserters. Here we go. Now I have a bunch of fast inserters. I can go set up the unload. Now, as we talked about a few episodes ago, we're not necessarily iron starved right now, but we will be eventually, and this is a good way to explain the train network. And as we become more resource starved, we'll get into higher capacity train networks, multiple trains, signaling, all of that other fun stuff. So here we go. I'll go back to our unloading depot area. So here you can see I also, when I have an inserter selected near a train stop, it puts those white boundaries again, which, as I talked about last episode or whenever it was, they're super useful for just knowing where a wagon's going to be. so I don't have to guess. Oop, okay, there are our stack inserters. I'll just do, I don't know, lab resource speed for now, just to get it running.
All right, so I'm just going to pull up this other station, or do you want this to actually stay?
No, for now, it doesn't need to be there. Eventually, we'll need it, but for now, we definitely don't.
All right, well, I'll leave it then. Jeez.
Well, by then, we might be on a different type of train, and it might not even be compatible. Okay, so we know this is going to be iron, which is another thing. Sometimes people mix load their wagons or, you know, set up things a little bit differently. They send a wagon of coal to the same output station as a wagon of iron. So you can imagine if we sent, even if the trains themselves were segregated to one material apiece, if you sent them to be unloaded at the same place, you would need some sort of sorting mechanism. Otherwise, you'd have just a mixed belt of stuff, you know, a mixed box and mixed belt of stuff. There are different ways of doing that. And once we have robots, I actually prefer to do it that way. But for now, we know this is going to be iron. And if we're copper or something else, we'll build another station. So maybe that's what we'll use that other one for, is if we run out of copper, we can send it into that other one.
Now, do you want a line for each of these, or are we going to condense these?
I think it's best to condense them. We don't need the throughput, and it might not even we might not even get that kind of throughput. Whoops.
But we're still going to need to, what's the word I'm looking for? Do it because there will be stuff coming out of here, right?
Right. Now, you can imagine if you don't want to do this kind of balancing, you could just say, oh, I only want 4. You know, you do it like that. I don't do it that way because, as I said before, my theory is you want to load and unload the trains as quickly as possible, because otherwise they're just sitting there being useless. And again, this is where if I had looked up the ideal M to N, you know, 6 to 1 belt splitter balancer, you can come up with all these crazy designs of how to make it most efficient without losing any speed, you know. Because I don't remember any of them, I'm just going to do it like that. It's not the ideal, but gets the job done. Yeah, that should work. And then this will be split right in to, like I said, our already backed up iron belt, but that's fine. Always okay to have extra iron. All right, so I'm going to head back to the bus area to take a look at what the next thing to do will be. I suspect we'll start getting into oil and blue science next. Which, if you think trains are complicated, wait till you get oil. Yeah, okay. So it looks like we need to start making some of the oil materials. I did add a pipe making and pipe storing factory over here. Yeah, just pulling off the pipe from here and using it to make some underground pipe. Not remotely working at optimal capacity, but I'm okay with that. If we need more, eventually I'll just make another dedicated area for it. The next thing I need is chemical plants, which can also be made on this kind of, I don't know, you build all column. Go ahead and get that done. It looks like we might be having, yeah, we're having some power issues again. So we turned on a whole bunch of extra miners. I bet that was it. That's why our power is suddenly, yeah, you can see we turned on a bunch of miners and now we're having power problems.
All right, so I'll go triple our power.
That'll work. That should keep us going for a while. Although the next thing we're building will be a bunch of oil refineries and chemical plants. That will be using a lot of power as well. But the good news is once we get the oil up and running, we won't be too far away from robots. And after we have robots, maintaining power is alternatively really hard and really easy. It's hard because robots use a lot of power. Easy because you can just tell them to make more and they'll just do it. You don't have to do it manually. I'm going to take a look at our research here. I believe we already have most research is done. Yeah, it looks like we do. Just add a few other little items here that will be useful. Now, the next thing, I think, I'm just going to be adding a couple other things to this build all column. Again, focusing on what will be useful for oil production. Pump jacks will be the next thing. And now we have those being made. Okay, what else? We do have these oil refineries. Now, some people build those automatically. I sometimes don't, mostly because the stone brick is kind of annoying to automate, and you don't necessarily need a ton of oil refineries. And I frankly don't like to be bothered to do it. Anything else to add? I think for now, oh, I think I'll build some oil tank or some steel tanks automatically, but we're almost ready with all the materials for that.
Oh, you're all the way over there with the train, huh?
I am up on the bus.
Oh, I was looking at Rotype Station thinking it was you. Okay,
Hey,
you're
that
over
was
there.
your idea to do that.
Ooh, and I forgot, I need a offshore pump before we get started.
Oh, I have one. I've been carrying around in my inventory for so long.
All right, well, I can cancel that. You better get
On the
over
way.
here.
I'm coming. I'm coming. I want to carry this stuff I don't need in my inventory.
All right, I got to figure out
For
how
that.
to transfer the coal over. It should be easy enough, maybe.
All right, get rid of this. And I don't have any stone or anything else to be useful. Just the pump.
Oh, I have everything else.
Oh, okay, good. I will go back and actually, the first thing I want to do is take a look at the map. Now, when you're laying out a base, there's generally kind of three main areas you need to. There's the smelting area, and that will lead almost directly into your bus. So you can see we laid out the smelting area here pretty much with the idea that the bus would run across this desert and not have to worry about too much trees or anything, water in the way. The next thing you need to lay out usually is the train kind of depot area. And you see we've kind of started it down here, and you got to think about how that's going to be laid out relative to your, that's going to be bringing in most often your raw materials. So you want to lay out that area, and that can take up a decent amount of space. Now, the next thing I'm working on will be oil. And that's another thing that takes up a decent amount of space. What I'm doing now, looking at this map, is just kind of planning out where I want to put that. Because you don't want to just wedge it in, because it can get kind of complicated. And you don't want to just run out of space and the oil refineries are pretty large machines, so they take up a decent amount of space. But I think that is where we're headed for the next episode. Looks like Mouse is almost done getting more power going. So
I still
think
have a
that
ways to
will-
go, so
well, maybe we'll finish that off camera in between episodes.
sounds good.
So with that, I want to thank you all for watching. My name has been Rotype. He's been Mouse Gunner, and we'll see you next time.